This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
The X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X-Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, REL-MAR McConnell Media Company, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell, and for the next 3 hours, I am your host. I am your guide as together we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X-Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And the X-Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 11 p.m. Eastern until 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock Eastern. I think it's 1 o'clock. There you go. Right here on the X-Zone Broadcast Network from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. If you'd like to send an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com or studio@xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV, and our website where you can find out what we've done in the past, what we're doing today, and what we intend on doing tomorrow at www.xzoneradiotv.com. X-Zone Nation, my guest this hour is Janis Crosbie, and she is a spiritual navigator and psychic medium. And first of all, Janis, thanks so much for coming on the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm so glad to be here, as I mentioned earlier, Rob. In a nutshell, I've spent probably 30 years being a psychic. A lot of that time I didn't really understand that I was. In fact, I thought everybody was. What made my story, I guess, kind of unique is I spent over 25 years in television. Mm-hmm. I was actually a news anchor and a radio person, a reporter, and so my job for over 20 years was fighting the truth and trying to get to the bottom of things, and I guess kind of overcoming any kind of skepticism and getting the dirt. And what I found out over my, I guess, spiritual journey was not only was I gifted, but all kinds of people are gifted, and things that a lot of us take for granted in everyday life is actually us trying to tune in to our gifts that we already have. So I have recently been the creator of what I call a karma kit, which is something that kind of incorporates a whole lot of belief systems from many different religions and backgrounds of sacred stones and rituals and candles, dealing with chakra colors. And from that, I basically started to understand that I was, in fact, a psychic. I have empathic, clairvoyant, I smell, I taste, and the rest is kind of history. I'm talking to you now.
Yeah. All right, but how did you make the transition from news anchor to psychic?
Well, interesting question. A lot of us end up with a situation called family and kids. So that's kind of what happened to me. I was working in television, and I was actually a crime courtroom reporter. And so a lot of the times I'd be taken on the scene to go interview people, and I would get, like, literally sick to my stomach. I just kind of thought that everybody felt nauseous and awful when they would go to these signs and see things. So what I started to realize was I was, in fact, maybe not feeling like everyone else. I ended up one Halloween interviewing Doug DeLong, who has been a guest on your show before, and he was just launching his first book. And my job as a reporter was to find out, how do you see angels and guides and what's this all about? Well, after talking to Doug and Carol, I started to realize that maybe these things that I was feeling was a little different. So I had always been interested in the occult, and when I was a little girl, I used to read ghost stories. And once again, I just assumed my world and the things that I was experiencing was what everyone was experiencing. What happened, I think, when it really was in my face was the day that I was transferred from being an anchor into a reporter. And my boss was telling me that I was going to have a new job, and I wasn't really too happy about it. But the most crazy thing about it was, as she was speaking to me, it was like a gray veil just came over her face. And I was so mesmerized by the fact that I'm looking at her and she just doesn't look the right way, that I kind of started to twinge into it. And then at that point, I started to put everything, I guess, my ducks in order, for lack of a better word. I had a child, took my maternity leave, and there was no way in the world, because I covered Martinsville, which was a huge case out in Saskatchewan here, that I was going to put my daughter in daycare. So what ended up happening was I thought, tap into your inner self, meditate, what do you have? Thus, the creation of Karma Kits. And from that, I basically went part-time, back into TV, realized that when I covered hard news...
All right, as somebody who's been in the media, you know this, we have to take a commercial break. Exo Nation will be back on the other side of this break as we continue speaking with Janis Crosbie. And if you'd like to send Janis an email, her email address is karmakit@sasktel.net. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We'll be back after this break. Don't go away.
Gibbs A. Williams, Ph.D., is a practicing psychoanalyst, supervisor, researcher, and author in New York City. Much of his life has been dedicated to understanding nature and the uses of meaningful coincidences or synchronicities. His radical and original non-Jungian, non-mystical, non-magical theory of synchronicities illuminates much of the fog surrounding this challenging and perplexing topic. His ideas and manners are fresh, presented in a style that is both entertaining and highly informative. He is also an expert on crisis intervention, specially focused on violence reduction for the police and citizens, mastering anxiety, frustration, and stress without the use of medication, and effectively preventing and treating heroin addiction. Dr. Williams can be contacted at his email address at gwwilliamsny11@aol.com or visit his website at www.drgibbswilliams.com.
Shamanism is recognized as a method to access the quantum level. Mastery of shamanic skills puts spiritual information and healing power into your hands. Path Home Shamanic Art School, a bonded Colorado certified occupational school, has met rigorous state standards, ensuring its director and instructors have the qualifications to teach the shamanic arts. Path Home offers a certification program in blocks of study. Block 1, a 5-day intensive, will be held in the beautiful mountain town of Coaldale, Colorado, October 13th through 18th. Registration deadline is September 12th. Experience journey trance, power animals, helping spirits, sacred space, and life purpose. Come discover your power. Join me, Gwilda Wiyaka, in the magical world of shamanism. Call 303-775-3431 or visit findyourpathhome.com.
This is Kevin Randall. For nearly 30 years, I have been investigating the case of the Roswell UFO. I have interviewed hundreds of people and stood on the crash site. Now in Roswell in the 21st century, I have reviewed dozens of hours of audio and videotaped interviews, examined hundreds of files that relate to the crash, and have returned to Roswell in an attempt to put all that information into the proper perspective. For the first time in Roswell in the 21st century, I have made a dispassionate reevaluation of all that material and provide a new look at what happened. This is a book that clears away all the clutter that has hidden the truth for so long, strips away the various lies that surround the case, exposes the Air Force attempts at cover-up, and found a core of solid information that tells us all where the case stands today. Roswell in the 21st Century will be available in just a few weeks. For more information, please visit my website at www.kevinrandall.blogspot.com.
Welcome back, everyone. My guest this hour is Janis Crosbie. She is a spiritual navigator and psychic medium. And if you'd like to contact Janis after the show, her email address is karmakit@sasktel.net. That's karmakit@sasktel.net. Okay, so when you made the decision to become a professional spiritual navigator, what's the difference between a spiritual navigator and a psychic?
And a psychic. Okay, well, actually, I'm glad you asked that because I think it's really important. What I view as a spiritual navigator is like a GPS for your life. So many times, and I've done it, you've probably done it too, we've all gone to psychics, and they tell us what's wrong with our life. And in the big picture, nobody goes to a psychic unless there is something wrong with your life. Because when your life is good, you're happy. You're going along, doing your thing. So what I found, what was missing, in my opinion, was so often people would be told there's this, or God forbid they tell you awful things that you were cursed and you had to carry a mojo bag and all kinds of just goofiness, right? And what I do is I can see and deal with all those things, but I try to give you the tools to empower yourself. So instead of telling you what's wrong with your life, you know that. How can we make it better? So I work as a psychic life coach, for lack of a better word. I sit down with my clients, and we will create work lists of what they need to do. Are there certain people that they're dealing with that they're just overwhelmed with? How can we work with them so they're not controlled by this other person? How do we get them to think about eating healthy, exercising? So because I address not just the psychic, the spiritual side, I'm dealing in the logical side. I also do feng shui. And so with that, the environment that we live in, what's around us impacts us so much that I think it's not sufficient to just say, okay, this is going to happen to you, or this person's good or this person's bad. I try to give you the tools so you can tap into your own abilities and then live the life you want to live.
All right, so how would you best be able to assist somebody who comes to you for help with their spiritual for you to be their spiritual navigator? What do you need from them, and how does it best work?
Okay, and that is very dependent upon my clients because it depends what the client needs. I have been creating karma kits in the very beginning, which were like a little intent, a mojo bag, for lack of a better word, because I found that if people had positive affirmation, if they every day realized there was things to be grateful for, if they had goals in their life progressed forward a lot easier than having nothing. So that was like a tool. Then I picked up, the cards and the different forms of of telling fortunes and different things like that. But what I found really rang true is what the person needs. Now, my ability, what I have found, is if someone phones, and I'm really a stickler on this, I don't want to know what the problems are. I don't want to hear anything. I basically want to hear their voice, and then I get a number that I can call them back at. And at that point in time, I sit down, I center myself, protect myself, call my guides around, and say, what information does this person need in order to go forward? And I will jot things down. Some would call it automatic writing. I'm not in a deep trance, so I'm not like some person like that. But I am frantically writing down things. I do not censor the information that I put down. And sometimes it's in symbols, sometimes it's in words, it doesn't matter. I phone the person back, and then I ask them, do these things make sense? If they say, yes, it does, and I usually get a form of remote viewing so I can see where they are or what's around them. Once again, things to identify them with the messages. If that's the case, then we go ahead. And we pick a time in which I can work with them. I usually do work over the phone because I can do distance. And so I would then sit down, write out a whole lot of notes on the person. Usually it's about 3 to 4 pages of things that are around them. It might be messages from passed on loved ones. It might be circumstances in their workplace, whatever. I write all that down. Then we arrange a time that's convenient for them. We review that, and then at that point, there are questions. So depending on what questions they have, they kind of lead where the reading goes. Some people want to have help in a particular situation, so that's when I might do a follow-up. Okay, send me some pictures of your place. Let's have a look at it from feng shui. Or perhaps it might be a case of they're having difficulties addressing a relationship. What steps? So I might be a refresher, the bug in the ear, to make it happen. So some readings are just one-off. That's what the person gets. Some readings might go on for months, depending on what the person needs.
You mentioned you get the information from your guides. Well, who are your guides and where do they come from?
Well, good question, and I've been trying to figure that out for years. I don't really have particular names. And I can't really put a finger on it like, it's this person. I am protected by white light. I do believe that I'm connected to energies because I'm very, very empathic. So I don't know how much is picking up from my own guides or picking up from other people's guides. But the information comes to me in my brain. It's not a little voice that says blah, blah, blah. It basically is just a wash. Anyone who has practiced automatic writing or practiced any form of meditation, if you silence your brain, and it's the things that all of a sudden come into your brain kind of randomly. Do you know what I mean? As opposed to I'm thinking of a grocery list, I'm writing these things down, all of a sudden I'm getting an image or I'm getting a message. So it's not what I normally would have in a thought pattern. That's probably the easiest way to describe it.
You said you're protected by the white light. Why do you need to be protected, and what is the significance of the white light?
That is my own personal preference, and it's just my own beliefs, because I do not, I've told my kids from a very young age to, if they were ever scared, is everything not from the light be gone. I tend to relate to my information coming from a higher source, a divine, a God, a creator. It's light, it's white. So therefore, I wash myself with that light, if that makes sense.
Sure does.
It's my own personal belief. Everyone, I believe that everyone should have protection around them, but we do. If you have any kind of belief system, whether you believe in God or Buddha or whoever it is, everybody has some kind of a link that when you're feeling low, you have protection. If you ask for it. That's the key thing. You have to ask for it.
So what is the connection between feng shui and being a spiritual navigator, psychic medium?
Huge, because both of them all intertwine. An example of this would be I recently did a reading with a lady in Calgary, and she had concerns in finances and also relationships. Once again, people usually, when those two things are good, they don't see me. Do you know what I mean? And so we had gone over some points, some things, messages I had been given in regards to that. But in my gut, there was something that wasn't quite right. And so I said, can you please send me a picture of, and in this case I was following the Black Hat sect, because feng shui can be really convoluted and very confusing. There's compass, there's form, there's Black Hat. To make it the simplest form, Black Hat is always the same. It doesn't matter what year it is, where the flying stars are, or anything like that. It's just straightforward. So for all your listeners out there right now, if you were to stand at the front of your door sill, which is your front door that you use, to the far right-hand side, the back of your house, the back of your apartment, wherever it is, that is your relationship corner. And everything on the far left side is your money or finances. So if somebody's having problems in either of those areas, I like to look to see what's in there. A good case in point, a woman had just been remarried, was living in her new husband's house, However, it was also the house that the ex was there. She said, I just feel like a maid. I don't feel like I'm being appreciated anymore. And I said, okay, well, tell me for a minute, what is in that corner? What she told me was, that's where her husband puts all his laundry. That's where the ironing board is. But most important, there was a picture there that she did not like at all, which depicted a clothesline out in the prairies, wind blowing, alone, desolate. So basically what was in her relationship area was she was the maid. So the first thing I told her to do was get the husband's laundry out of there, get rid of that picture because it has energy from the previous relationship. If you will want to build a new one, you certainly don't want to drag garbage from the past. That's just a no-no. So for that example, relationship. For money, a lot of us right now are searching for work. We're searching to try and make ends meet. You don't necessarily have to have the big screen TV and the Scrooge McDuck money piles. I don't mean that, but we need to fill that area, that money side, with things that we believe and perceive as abundance. Whether it's a beautiful, some people like green for the color of money, so it might be having a pretty green picture or something that represents wealth or success to you. So, if it's a storage area, not a good thing. If it's, and that goes for the main areas. The other thing, there's only one thing that I would really say in feng shui that I have found in all my years that is true, and I would run from a house who had this, and that is if there is a toilet above your main door that you use, that's bad because that is literally poop coming down, and anytime I've ever ran into that, there has been drastic illness in that home. So that's the only thing. But so much of feng shui is, in fact, looking at it like clutter is really bad. So if you want to, say, lose 10 pounds, go down to your basement. Look, do you have boxes on the floor? If you do, you should probably pick them up, even if they're just raised up, because it's heavy. It's energy that's sitting there. So when you ask what would that have to do with being a spiritual navigator, it's got everything to do, because I don't want to just tell you that your life isn't good or your life is bad or whatever. I want to give you the tools to fix your life, because we all have in us the ability to have fabulous things, to get whatever we want. But we usually are bogged down with perceptions of others, or, for lack of a better word, just maybe being in the wrong place and having things just not quite right.
Could it be that the person that you're talking about in feng shui is in fact messy, and that they really have no ability to get up and go, and that they're just satisfied where they are in life?
But see, there's the hinge. If they're satisfied where they are in life, then they're not contacting me, and it's all good.
No, but you see, this guy's wife contacted you. The man didn't contact you.
Yes,
so there's
that's
three.
correct.
There's three sides
but
to every.
The man
wait a
was
sec. Hold on here.
perfectly happy in his relationship, having this woman as his maid.
Well, okay.
She was
listen.
not happy.
Listen. We've got to take a break. But in my experience as a journalist as well, there's three sides to every story: his side, her side, and the truth. Right now, we're just hearing one side of the story, so I just don't want to go heave ho on the lady and give all the and go against the guy, because we don't know the whole story. Let's continue this on the other side of the break.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, High Tech with Corey Kay, and every minute of the 24/7, 365 programming of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 712-432-9459, courtesy of TalkStream Live. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 712-432-9459 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 712-432-9459 for the best of paranormal, new age, thought-provoking, sci-fi radio programming 24/7, 365.
Wouldn't you love to know the secret to everything? Well then, meet Dr. Kimberly McGeorge and her cutting-edge breakthrough knowledge that combines science with possibility. Dr. Kimberly brings real-life answers and healing to those open to alternative solutions. She teaches solution-based programs and classes that will change all areas of your life forever. Specializing in conscious creation, intuitive readings, and energy medicine, you can rapidly shift health, relationships, business, and money and abundance challenges quickly. Receive her best-selling book, Secret to Everything, at no cost by going to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone. That's right, transformation can start now. Just go to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone and receive Dr. Kimberly's book for free.
While science pursues fact, magic accesses the quantum level, bridging random facts to form truth. As long as science and magic remain separate and polarized, the truth cannot be known. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka. Join me on the Science of Magic radio program, dedicated to unification and evolution of consciousness. During each episode, I'll be speaking with experienced and respected scientists and mystics. From astrologers to astronomers, from medical doctors to shaman, the scientific method to dowsing and intuition, we'll weave together information from seemingly divergent practices to promote unity and enlightenment. Join me, Gwilda Wiyaka, and the Science of Magic right here on the Mutual Broadcast Network. For more information, visit www.thescienceofmagic.net.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
Janis Crosbie is our guest this hour, Exonation. She is a spiritual navigator and psychic medium. And, you know, maybe the example that we used of this lady who just got involved in a new relationship, they got married, she moves into the old house, the guy has, she thinks that the guy is using, the guy, she believes the guy is using her as basically a laundry lady or a housekeeper. And she's not satisfied. Well, I can understand that. Nobody would be satisfied, or, nobody would want that existence. So
I think the one thing to keep in mind, because I agree with what you're saying, because fundamentally, who is anybody meddling in anybody else's life? Here's the really interesting thing about feng shui, though, and that is sometimes by her, saying, I don't want you to have this laundry here anymore. I don't want you to do that, right? What she's doing is she's searching for the relationship that she needs. Perhaps, and this does happen, if you clean up those areas, the person that you're with right now may not be the person that you should be with and may not be the person you will be with.
Well, isn't that supposed to be done when you're dating? Because basically when you're dating somebody, it's a vetting. You're vetting them. You're finding...
We're going into another line of things here. No, I agree with you. You should have fundamental things. Okay. And is it a case, was he messy to begin with? Yeah. And she just accepted it? I don't know.
Well, I guess the point...
There's always three sides to the story. I don't know.
My
but
direction.
I do know that people can make a huge difference, and it's actually been documented scientifically that if you're, surrounded by clutter and can't really move, you don't mentally have that breathing room.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I understand
it's all
that.
Tied together.
I understand that. Okay, I agree with you. However, here we are in the year of 2016. If people cannot figure this out on their own, why do they need to go to a psychic? Why do they go to a medium? Why don't they go to a marriage counselor or a trained professional?
That, I guess, is the question that has to be fired back to them. I can only speak for my own self and my own clients, and people have basically sought me out upon recently, as a matter of fact, up to about a week ago. I always read the obits. It's something, I guess, from the news days that you check and see, well, what's going on and who's who. And in this particular case, I was reading the obits as I always do with my cup of coffee, and there was a memorial in there. And when I saw the memorial, I just, wow, I read it. And I mean, I do read and I appreciate nice writing.
Yeah.
But this particular thing really hit a chord, and it was like all of a sudden it was as if I was doing a psychic reading. I'm getting information. It's like it's 8:30 in the morning. I have another thing to be doing. I don't need this. Finally, I said, fine, I will write this down. So I wrote it down, and I thought, what the heck am I going to do with this?
Yeah.
Right? Like, it just makes no sense. I told my girlfriend, and she said, I think you should contact the guy. And I said, oh, come on, now really, that just crosses over into a zone I'm not really comfortable with. But for whatever, I sent it to the universe, and I said, you know what? For whatever reason, this person needs to hear this. And so for whatever reason, if it's really meant to be, I will follow the law of attraction and the universe unfolding for me, and I will find this person. So I went on the Internet to see if, in fact, I could track this person down. There was a phone number. I didn't read websites because I don't want a bunch of preconceived information. I just want to be able to go with what I've got. It's easier for me. So I phoned this person and asked if, in fact, they had lost somebody, and they said yes. And I said, this is a really weird situation, and I said, I have never done this before. I'm actually a psychic, but I've got this message, and I believe it's for you. Can I read it to you? Well, I got to be honest with you, Rob. What has transformed in the last 2 weeks has been phenomenal, because this person, not only was I bang on with this information, it has helped his stepson. He has talked to other people about it. They've been touched for it. And something that's really important for me to let you know, and also for your listeners, is I did not charge for this. This was not a way to solicit business. Do you know what I mean? It was a test to me, to the universe. Okay, I have this information. What am I going to do with it? And I was really touched by the reaction of this person. So would they be good going to a marriage counselor? Well, no, their spouse is dead.
What's wrong with a grief counselor?
How did this unfold? I don't rightly know. I do know that I listen to my gut, which is what I tell each and every client that I see, because I do believe that everyone has a gift, and especially kids, because they haven't been tuned out yet. They haven't been told not to listen to that gut feeling. They've been told when they're scared in the dark that there's nothing there. And I think that so much of us, we are programmed that we no longer listen to our innate ability. And it's something that our ancestors way back when were very attuned to when we were living in the bush, and you know what I mean? But as society has changed, we turn down that volume, we don't listen to our guts, and unfortunately sometimes we listen to things that we shouldn't be listening to.
What is what is the biggest problem you hear about from people who call you to help them with their spiritual navigation?
I would say the biggest is relationship and money. Those are the key things. Health does come forefront. A lot of people, by the time they're contacting you for health, they're usually at their wit's end. They're at their last straw. And I would never, ever condone, don't go to a doctor, don't do this. Like, I'm a firm believer, use everything you can get, whether it's a medical doctor, a naturopath, even going to somebody like myself. If it opens up an avenue that you didn't know about before, or open up the internet, there's so much information out there nowadays, we need to access it. So I would never profess that somebody should, close the door on traditional medicine. However, that being said, I do have my second degree in Reiki, and I do believe that there is so much. A book that I think is fantastic for anybody out there that's listening that has health concerns, read The Biology of Belief by Dr. Bruce Lipton. It will change your whole thought process on how cells grow and what happens. I'm not going to say any more, but that's a really good book. So as you can tell from me even talking to you, I pride myself with being very well researched, very well read, and I too, looking back at where I was 20 years ago, would have been asking the same tough questions and saying why it doesn't make sense. Some of the answers I can't answer, but I do know what I know, and I do know that the information I pass on to people is helpful to them. Should they look for another avenue, I have certainly suggested to some people that they do need to see a professional, whether it's somebody in the psychology field, whether it's somebody in the medicine field. I don't have any problem with that, because the way I look at it is my gift is to be shared and to make people's lives better.
So how do you tell a legitimate psychic from a fraudulent psychic?
I'm so glad you asked that, because I actually was given this information, and I don't know if you have heard of her. There was a psychic by the name of Rose Gallagher, and I grew up on Vancouver Island, and Rose Gallagher at the time, and this is dating me because I'm older now, she was one of these go-to people for the police. She was a psychic who would work on cold cases. In addition, she was a psychic. She was from Scotland originally, and she actually had told me a really key thing, because way back when I was starting my career in television, I wanted to have a cable show. And, of course, psychics, they're a good draw. They bring lots of people in. So I was interviewing Rose to find out her background for my pre-production of what I needed. When I spoke to her, she said the most important thing you can do when you talk to a psychic is don't say anything. If they ask you a question, you answer yes or no. I've had so many people phone and they go, and I've got this problem with this. It's I don't want to hear any of that. Because in my opinion, if people can't pick up things around you, then they're not the right psychic for you. That doesn't mean that I haven't ran into people that I can't read, but I'm honest about it, because I don't want to waste their time, and I certainly don't want to get involved with somebody, because a lot of times people like to test you. They put up layers, they put up cloaks. Well, no, there's other people out there that need my information and need my gifts. So I don't play in that game. Even with my karma kits, the whole selection of them is you choose which one you want. And I say if there's not the one that just jumps out at you like that's the one you need, then you don't buy it. It's not time. It's not right. So in a nutshell, picking a psychic, don't give them too much information, because once you say, I'm wondering about this relationship, I really like this guy, well, that tells me right there, just Joe Blow off the street would be able to say, well, you might be in head over heels, and it doesn't really sound like they care about you that much, because why would you be questioning if they do? And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. And I think after all the years in the media, I am so skeptical of others, for lack of a better word, because I know that people can twist it, and I know people prey on other people's souls and their misery. And that's something that's probably been the biggest thing over the years, is because I'm not like the others. So what I give is I give a complete 360 service of, I include the feng shui. I include readings. I give them a checklist. I suggest that they get out and get some physical activity. I kind of encompass all these different things within it, because to just get a tape recording or an MPEG now of, this is your reading, that doesn't work, I don't think.
So you do readings on Skype, you do readings by email, you do readings in person. How long does a reading take?
I normally do them for an hour. And I guess like in the entire process, because as I say, if somebody wanted a reading, I would get them to phone me, and I would get a number. Like, so once again, I don't want to hear what you want to know. I just want to know what's the phone number. Can I phone you back in 5-10 minutes?
Sure.
And so then I will phone them back after I have jotted down some information that I have picked up around this person. And then it is the person's job to say, yes, this makes sense, no, it doesn't make sense, because then that tells me, it's just a little kind of fine-tuning for me, saying, okay, this is the information for them. And then I ask them if they want to proceed. So then from that point, we would book, and usually it's about an hour. I tend to be long-winded, as you can probably tell. So about, I would say, half an hour to 40 minutes of it is going with the messages, and then it's Q&A if they have questions, or of course if there's questions as we're going through things, then they ask the questions. So usually it's about an hour.
We've got to take another break here. When we come back, a few more questions to our guest of this hour, Janis Crosbie. She is a spiritual navigator, kind of a GPS for your life, I guess, and she's also a psychic medium. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, and around the world on the X-Zone Broadcast Network and our growing family of broadcast affiliates and satellite programming providers. If you'd like to send me an email, two email addresses, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, or on air, you can always send me an email to studio@xzoneradiotv.com. Now, I'll be back on the other side of this break as we wrap up this hour here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
As host of Dialogue with Divinity, I am thrilled to join the X-Zone Broadcast Network and their growing number of affiliates. My quest for a connection to the divine ignited my successful career path as an international spiritual counselor for over 40 years, an author of 4 books, and well-known metaphysical educator. My clients call me their spiritual mama. So my job is to offer you a radio show to help you grow spiritually with wisdom and get specific tools from guests who are experts in their field. Tune in to Dialogue with Divinity and be part of the conversation with Spirit. My goal, your happy soul. For more information, please visit my website at johannacarroll.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone radio show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, High Tech with Corey Kay, and every minute of the 24/7, 365 programming of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 712-432-9459, courtesy of TalkStream Live. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 712-432-9459 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 712-432-9459 for the best of paranormal, new age, thought-provoking, sci-fi radio programming 24/7, 365.
Coming soon to the X-Zone Broadcast Network is A Different Perspective with me, Kevin Randall, as your host. We'll be taking a close look at what is happening in the world of UFOs today with side trips into the paranormal. Guests will range from those who are household names to those who have a different perspective on a variety of topics. No topic will be taboo, but there will be tough questions asked as we all search for the truth about UFOs, the paranormal, and those things that excite us. Sometimes we'll agree with a guest and sometimes we won't, but we'll try to keep the program topical. For those of you who would like to read, be sure to visit www.kevinrandle.blogspot.com and remember to listen to the other fine programs on the X Zone Broadcast Network at www.xzbn.net. This is Kevin Randle. For nearly 30 years, I have been investigating the case of the Roswell UFO. I have interviewed hundreds of people and stood on the crash site. Now in Roswell in the 21st century, I have reviewed dozens of hours of audio and videotaped interviews, examined hundreds of files that relate to the crash, and have returned to Roswell in an attempt to put all that information into the proper perspective. For the first time in Roswell in the 21st century, I have made a dispassionate reevaluation of all that material and provide a new look at what happened. This is a book that clears away all the clutter that has hidden the truth for so long, strips away the various lies that surround the case, exposes the Air Force attempts at cover-up, and found a core of solid information that tells us all where the case stands today. Roswell in the 21st century will be available in just a few weeks. For more information, please visit my website at www.kevinrandle.blogspot.com.
What Happened in Benghazi is revealed by Nicholas Janis, author of Obama, Islam, and Benghazi. He informs the American people that President Obama deceived them by advocating a strong foreign policy prior to the 2012 presidential election, and Hillary Clinton supported this deception. As the title infers, there is a connection between Obama, Islam, and Benghazi. Ample evidence informs Americans that Obama's early indoctrination in the Quran developed an affinity for Islam, why the Quran is the source of discontent in many countries, and why the Obama foreign policy deception led to poor military action and caused the loss of American lives in Benghazi. Janis provides 36 questions for the Select Committee on Benghazi to validate if Americans are justified to mistrust President Obama and Hillary Clinton. An overview of Obama, Islam, and Benghazi is presented on the website www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com. Afterlife expert Roberta Grimes was the first one to say that dying can be fun. Now her best-selling book, The Fun of Dying, is available in stores worldwide. So if you wonder whether death ends life, how it feels to die, or what heaven might be like, The Fun of Dying was written for you. And if you have always been afraid of death, or if you worry that your life has no meaning, let The Fun of Dying ease your fears and bring new meaning to your life. Nothing said in The Fun of Dying is based on the teachings of any religion. Instead, Roberta draws on evidence to explain how death happens, how it feels, and what comes next. A lot of the best death-related evidence was produced in the first half of the 20th century. When it is put together with recent discoveries, it tells a consistent and amazing story. Roberta Grimes blogs and answers questions at robertagrimes.com. Her wonderful book, The Fun of Dying, is available on Amazon and at stores worldwide wherever books are sold.
Exonation, our guest this hour is Janis Crosbie. She is a spiritual navigator, psychic medium. And if you'd like to contact Janis, her email address is karmakit@sasktel.net. I have to ask you, as a former member of the media and a psychic now and a spiritual navigator, what do you think of Article 356, or is it 365 of the Criminal Code?
I am not familiar with that. Jog my memory.
Okay.
I've gotten out of newsland.
Oh, okay. Basically, according to the Canadian Criminal Code, Article 365 says everyone who fraudulently pretends to exercise or use any kind of witchcraft, sorcery, enchantment, or conjuration, or undertakes for consideration to tell fortunes, or pretends from his skill or in or acknowledgement or knowledge of an occult or crafty science to discover where or in what manner anything that is supposed to have been stolen or lost may be found is guilty of an offense punishable on summary conviction.
What do I think of that?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess it's up to each individual. We do live in a country of free speech, and decisions and everything else. I mean,
but isn't
buyer beware? I guess I don't mean to be a cop out, but I think it's kind of buyer beware. I think it's really important to listen to your gut. If
all
you
right,
have
I
a
can
bad
understand that. I
feeling
can
about
understand
somebody,
that.
Then listen to your gut.
I can understand that on a consumer side, a consumer plane. But where the criminal code says it's illegal, isn't that more than consumer beware?
I guess I'm not. I guess I am not performing anything illegal because I guess this is just for entertainment, just like all your guests.
That's a cop-out.
You know what I mean? I guess it's the same thing. I don't tell somebody to live their life a particular way. I don't tell them that they need a mojo bag or there's a curse. I don't run around doing a lot of things that are going on. So I don't really feel that I am practicing anything that is there. I guess if I was under scrutiny, there could be all kinds of things. I guess I would just need a good lawyer, and I'm coming from a good place. I don't really feel that I need to defend that. Is probably the best way to describe it. I guess I'm as guilty as Doreen Virtue and Wayne Dyer and all these other people.
But you know what? They're all in the United States. They're not up here in Canada. You know, so I understand where you're coming from. Like, you know, you think you're doing nothing wrong. You don't think that there's anything going wrong. And like you said, you know, if somebody wants to call you, they made the decision to call you. You didn't go out and solicit them.
Yeah.
I just wanted you.
Too, like, I mean, I guess it all depends on how you look at things. I'm just going to throw this out to the listeners that they can do this on their own. I like to play a game called Parking Angels. So next time that you're stressed out and panicked, just take a minute and say, okay, Parking Angels, can I get a place that's close? Yeah. You know, they may be surprised that they'll probably get a parking place. Is that witchcraft? Is that sorcery? Is that, I don't know. Like, I mean, I think it's positive thinking. I think it's opening up the avenues of our brains that we don't use. And so I don't profess to have anything that nobody else has. All I profess is that I actually go through more than just a superficial level.
Gotcha.
So, yes, I can sit down and do your actual compass readings for your feng shui. I can, I can do color therapy, with reflexology. Like, there's all kinds of different things. So I guess if you say, what makes me not liable for criminal convictions? I don't know. My question
to you was
definition of it.
My question to you was, as a former member of the media, and now someone who does spiritual navigation and psychic mediumship. You live in Saskatchewan, so I asked you, as one Canadian to a Canadian, what you thought of the Article 365. That's all.
What do I think of it? Well, I mean, boy, if we were to sit down and pull apart the criminal code, there's many a thing that should be changed. Once again, I don't think I can comment on it. Like, yes, okay, as it reads, then sure, there's definition. I know that there's a lot of people doing what I'm doing. Sure. So therefore, I don't know. I mean, there's so many.
But like you said, I
don't know how to answer that, to be honest with you, Rob. I feel kind of on the spot. I'm going to be honest with you. You make me feel on the spot with that question.
I don't know why I should. I didn't mean to. I just
asked. Well, no, but I'm just saying because I don't know how I can answer that. How do I'm not advocating and running out trying to change the law. So therefore, for me to say, well, it's wrong and it shouldn't be, I'm not really substantiating that. You know what I mean? Because I'm not actively going and changing it.
I think you answered it.
Could people like myself be charged? Well, jeepers, it's like the witch burnings of way back when. So I don't know how to answer it.
I think you answered it when you said, well, people know it's for entertainment purposes only. Right?
And what they do with it beyond, I can't. I mean, and I guess that's the key thing, and it's good that you've said it because that's the one probably biggest thing that was an obstacle as I made the transition from television reporter anchor into this, is because I have seen so many shysters. I have seen people rip other people's hearts out, tell them to have this, that they're cursed, and, you know, that is just, I'm not going to swear, but that is cow poop. You know what I mean? That is complete and total cow poop. And there will always be people that will take advantage of lost souls. And so I guess the only thing I can really say is listen to your heart. Don't divulge a bunch of information to a psychic. All you need to answer is yes or no. Beyond yes or no, you're giving them too much information, just like Rose Gallagher told me over 40 years ago. You know, it's too much information. So if you're finding that you're being told, you know, this and that, look at where the source is. Okay. How do they know? Because really we're all on this earth to learn lessons, and I cannot, in my ultimate personal, not just for entertainment, but this is my personal belief, that I can't see that there is any point in creating pain or havoc in someo's life.
Okay,
one of my favorite sayings is, you know, when you face chaos, be like a willow, bend, but do not break.
So what is the difference, in your opinion, then, between a lost soul and a person seeking a reading for entertainment purposes?
A lost soul is somebody who is so very pained, so hurt, that they would pay anybody anything to be told something.
Oh, wow.
Okay, do you know what I mean? Somebody who goes and seeks a reading for entertainment, I mean, like I said, I've gone to psychics before, and, you know, you go with your girlfriend, oh, you know, what's this trip to Australia going to be like, or what's this? I think that, you know, there's a big difference between an upbeat. If somebody is actually mentally depressed or, you know, physically ill, you know, a psychic is not who they should go to. A psychic might be somebody that they could see along the way if, in fact, their belief system is such that they believe that information that they get from them would be fulfilling and moving them forward in life. But, like, to actually, you know, say, I've got to see my psychic, I have to consult my psychic, like, that's I don't believe in that.
But what happens
Everybody comes to me when they need to come to me.
But what happens in the case where somebody that you are giving readings to creates a dependency on you and your advice? How do you kind of push them away?
I have been faced with that. I wean them. I don't charge them, and I point them in directions. Usually I will give them a long reference list of books they can get free at the library or download, because I believe in karma. Like, I mean, I don't think that what goes around comes around.
Yeah. That's true.
You come from a bad place, you will end up in a worse place. You know, you go with good intent, all you're doing is trying to forward the positive. So if people become dependent, that's not good. There's no difference between somebody being dependent on cigarettes or drugs or, you know, a counselor every week, you know. I guess if anything, if I can stress anything, is to be able to open up your mind, to tune into yourself, because nobody should be telling you what to do. You should be telling yourself what to do.
You know, you said, you mentioned a counselor in that, you know, they shouldn't be going to a counselor every week. Well, a counselor usually is a trained professional that is governed by a provincial or federal body or association or licensing committee. So how can you say that a person who has the smarts and is smart enough to realize they need help?
No. I mean using a counselor, as in even counselors will say that people become dependent on them.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't mean you shouldn't go to a counselor. Kind of switched that a little bit. I said in the term of anybody can be dependent. It's like the hypochondriacs that go to the doctors every week because they got a new ache or pain. That's not healthy either.
Listen, you and I have to say so long for tonight. I want to thank you so much for joining us. X-Zone Nation, our guest tonight has been Janis Crosbie. And I'm just going to give you Janis's email address, X-Zone Nation, if you'd like to contact her for entertainment purposes only. She is a spiritual navigator and a psychic medium. Her email address is karmakit@sasktel.com. Now, I'll be back on the other side of this break.
It's .net.
I'm sorry, sasktel.net. I'll be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My name is Rob McConnell. Whatever you do, don't go away.